Yeah. We trading the street corners for the expensive penthouse suites. Listen to the heavy syllables and watch the throne. Yeah. The heavy rain is violently pouring down on the black tinted windows of the 95 Mercedes-Benz. I am sitting comfortably in the premium leather backseat, wearing the colorful cootie sweater hidden securely underneath a massive black leather trench coat. The heavy gold Jesus pieces resting perfectly on my chest, a constant shining reminder of the miraculous elevation from the freezing project hallways. I remember standing in the freezing snow with the holes in my cheap sneakers, actively dodging the unmarked police cruisers and mathematically counting the crumpled $5 bills. Now I am aggressively popping the corks on the expensive vintage champagne bottles, pouring the bubbling liquid directly into the crystal flutes while the thick cigar smoke fills up the luxurious cabin. My black Motorola pager is constantly vibrating on my hip, flashing the secret numeric codes from the Lawyer Street associates, successfully moving the heavy product across the state lines. I tell the driver to slowly pull the heavy luxury vehicle directly in front of the classic midnight diner. The neon sign is violently flickering in the dark, and I already know the jealous rival bosses are sitting inside the corner booth, nervously sweating completely through their cheap Italian suits. I step out into the freezing puddle, holding the heavy black umbrella and carrying the massive leather briefcase filled entirely with the crisp $100 bill secured by the thick rubber bands. We braving up heavy Brooklyn smoke and stacking the paper incredibly high, watching the jealous competitors slowly wither and mathematically die. From the dirty concrete pavement to the massive velvet throne, we completely control it, this dangerous burrowing, breaking the heavy mold. We breathing up heavy Brooklyn smoke and stacking the paper incredibly high, watching the jealous competitors slowly wither and mathematically die. From the dirty concrete pavement to the massive velvet throne, we completely control it, this dangerous burrowing, breaking the heavy mold. Slowly push the heavy glass doors open and walk directly into the quiet diner. The analog jukebox in the corner is softly playing the classic soul record. The entire room completely freezes the exact second I step onto the checkered floor. You can physically feel the heavy intimidation. Dropping the temperature in the room by 20 degrees. I slide my massive frame into the red leather booth across from the competition, placing the heavy briefcase directly onto the wooden table without uttering a single aggressive syllable. My reputation is mathematically bulletproof. I do not ever need to raise my heavy voice to successfully communicate the highly dangerous threat. They look at the massive diamond rings aggressively shining on my thick fingers, instantly realizing that my financial resources and my street realitaria are completely unmatched in this entire metro country jingle. We finalize the heavy transaction in absolute silence, exchanging the firm handshakes that seal the permanent fate of the entire neighborhood. I leave the diner and step back into the luxurious vehicle, instructing the driver to immediately head back to the underground club where the beautiful ladies wearing the thick gold hoop earrings are patiently waiting. We are celebrating a massive victory with the premium dark liquor, dropping the heavy cigar ashes directly onto the expensive imported Persian rugs. I am the absolute undisputed king of this concrete environment, painting the cinematic masterpieces with a heavy fountain pen and a yellow label, low capacity. We bringing up heavy Brooklyn smoke and stacking the paper incredibly high, watching the jealous competitors slowly wither and mathematically die. From the dirty concrete pavement to the massive velvet throne, we completely control it, this dangerous borough. Breaking the heavy mold, breathing the heavy Brooklyn smoke. We breathing the heavy Brooklyn smoke. Street corners, the undisputed ruler of the East Coast. Yeah, keep the champagne glasses completely full, and the circle incredibly tight. Brooklyn permanently. Yeah, we stepping back into the shadow. Best, yeah, look. Directly out the cracked window and observe the absolute belly of the beast. This is the exact concrete soil where the happy champions are mathematically grown. Listen to the undeniable heartbeat of the avenue. I'm staring directly out of the dirty 7th floor window of the massive project building, watching the entire metrical Chechen ecosystem operate under the dim orange street lights. You can physically hear the heavy boombox blasting the dusty analog cassette tape down on the freezing pavement, mixing perfectly with the distant wailing of the police sirens. The broken elevator constantly smells like the cheap malt liquor and the heavy cigar smoke, forcing the exhausted mothers to carry the heavy brown paper bags up the dark concrete stairwells. I observe the young hungry soldiers rolling the ivory dice against the graffiti-covered brick wall, desperately praying for a lucky numerical combination to permanently escape self-detained poverty. The local bodega owner is standing nervously behind a thick bulletproof glass, exchanging the crumpled single-dollar bills for the stale bread and the cold sodas, while the neighborhood hustlers mathematically calculate their next financial move outside the front door. The yellow taxi cabs completely refuse to cross the invisible geographical borders into our specific territory after the sun finally drops behind the city skyline. But this is the exact same dirt that permanently shaped my heavy iron mentality, teaching me how to successfully navigate the dangerous sharks and the venomous snakes hiding in the dark alleyways. This is the undeniable heavy pulse of the dangerous Brooklyn streets, where the hungry corner hustlers completely refuse to accept the bitter defeats. We navigate the dark alleys and the violently flashing red police lights, surviving the freezing concrete and the unpredictable metropolitan nights. This is the undeniable heavy pulse of the dangerous Brooklyn streets, where the hungry corner hustlers completely refuse to accept the bitter defeats. We navigate the dark alleys and the violently flashing red police lights, surviving the freezing concrete and the unpredictable metropolitan night. I step out of the heavy metal doors into the midnight air, wearing the crisp oversized denim jacket and the heavy waterproof boots. The local corner veterans are sitting on the overturned plastic milk crates, sharing the dark premium liquor and telling the legendary historical stories about the associates who never managed to make it back to the neighborhood block. My black pager is silently vibrating on my hip, but I am taking my absolute time to physically absorb the gritty atmosphere of my original roots. You can feel the heavy desperation floating in the atmosphere. The constant physical pressure that violently crushes the weak individuals and mathematically crystallizes the genuine diamond. The rival pools are actively whispering in the shadows, tightly gripping the heavy metal underneath their oversized colorful sweaters. Completely paranoid and ready to mathematically defend the microscopic piece of the broken asphalt. But my physical presence immediately drops the temperature on the entire avenue. The absolute undisputed king walking casually through his original kingdom without a single ounce of fear in his heart. I elevated my entire operation to the luxurious penthouse suites and the expensive crystals, champagne flutes. But my heavy soul permanently remain anchored to these freezing project hallways. I am painting this vivid Cinetana masterpiece strictly for the individuals who completely understand the beautiful struggle of the metropolitan survival. This is the undeniable heavy pulse of the dangerous Brooklyn street, where the hungry corner hustlers completely refuse to accept the bitter defeats. We navigate the dark alleys and the violently flashing red police lights, surviving the freezing concrete and the unpredictable metropolitan nights. The concrete jungle never actually sleeps. Always remember the exact coordinates where you originally started. The heavy marathon, Brooklyn permanently. We fading out into the thick city fog. Yeah. I wake up looking at the heavy gold chain resting comfortably on my chest, but my mind automatically travels back to the freezing Brooklyn projects. I clearly remember the empty refrigerator and the cold radiators, listening to the police sirens wailing through the dark Metro Cutchell night. My older brother was the absolute undisputed heavyweight champion of our concrete block, wearing the oversized colorful sweaters and the heavy Timberland boots. He stepped onto the dangerous pavement with a fearless attitude, absorbing the massive street pressure and taking the absolute maximum risk just to make sure our family survived. When the local corner hustlers tried to aggressively call me into the dark alleyways and hand me the illegal packages, he stepped directly in front of me and completely blocked the doorway with his massive frame. He forcefully told me to keep my young mind mathematically focused on the heavy school books while he stood out on the freezing intersection, catching the dirty looks from the rival crews. I used to silently watch him count the crumpled paper bills on the woody kitchen table under the dim yellow light, wrapping the dirty cash in the thick rubber bands and carefully hiding it completely behind the analog radio. He was playing an incredibly dangerous and deadly game with the federal authorities, actively trading his own physical safety to secure a bright and prosperous future for my innocent soul. We survived the freezing Brooklyn winter strictly because of the heavy brotherhood. He planted his feet in the dangerous dirt and completely understood, trading his own physical freedom so I could mathematically elevate, shielding my young eyes from the absolute darkest street hate. We survived the freezing Brooklyn winter strictly because of the heavy brotherhood. He planted his feet in the dangerous dirt and completely understood, trading his own physical freedom so I could mathematically elevate, shielding my young eye from the absolute darkest street hate. Now we are sitting comfortably inside the luxurious penthouse suite, booming the expensive vintage champagne directly into the crystal glasses. He is sitting right across the mahogany table wearing a tailored Italian suit, looking at the massive empire we successfully built from the absolute bottom of the garbage chute. My black pager was constantly buzzing with the heavy numerical codes, but I passed the physical device directly to him because he is the original grand architect of these lucrative roads. I will never forget that terrifying midnight when the unmarked police cruisers violently rushed our neighborhood block. The flashing red lights aggressively perfecting off the wet pavement. We grabbed the heavy metal in the physical stash, sprinting directly toward the chain link facts to draw the absolute black illumination away from our vulnerable location. He took the heavy fall and sat behind the cold steel bars for 3 long agonizing years, never shedding a single tear or refusing to speak a single syllable to the corrupt detectives. That is the ultimate definition of absolute unbreakable loyalty, the genuine royal bloodline operating in the metal of a gritty concrete jungle. The favorite associates who constantly smile in your face and evaporate when the heavy rain begins to fall, but your true blood will permanently stand right beside you. And take the heavy bullets I am dedicating every single heavy platinum plaque and every single quest $100 bill to the man who permanently secured my magnificent elevation. We survived the freezing Brooklyn winter strictly because of the heavy brotherhood. He planted his feet in the dangerous dirt and completely understood, trading his own physical freedom so I could mathematically elevate, shielding my young eyes from the absolute darkest street hate. We survived the freezing Brooklyn winter strictly because of the heavy brotherhood. He planted his feet in the dangerous dirt and completely understood, traded his whole physical freedom so I could mathematically elevate, shielding my young eyes from the absolute darkest street hate. Yeah, blood is permanently thicker than the vintage champagne. Always paying a maximum respect to the original teachers. Brooklyn forever. We stepping out into the glorious light.
Yeah.
I am waking up, resting on the imported silk pillows, wrapping my massive frame inside the colorful Coogee sweater. Before I even step onto the expensive Persian rug, I remember the dark, freezing nights when my pockets were completely empty. Standing on a dangerous corner, trying to flip a tiny piece of the concrete pie. Now I am strictly handling the heavy briefcases filled with the rectangular paper bills. But I elevated my entire mental market section far beyond the regular street hustle. I am legally securing the heavy patents on my original blueprints, treating my immaculate street game exactly like a highly valuable intellectual property. The jealous rivals are desperately trying to copy my majestic movement, but they are blatantly violating the heavy copyright that I permanently stamped on this metro coast in the borough. I am sitting in the smoky back room of the classic diner, sipping the vintage champagne from the crystal flutes and studying the complicated legislative gaps to ensure my massive empire remains entirely bulletproof. My black pager is constantly vibrating with the heavy numerical codes, but my lawyers wearing the expensive tailored suits are the ones actually delivering the devastating court decisions to the local competition. I am the sole authentic inventor of this luxurious lifestyle, establishing the heavy international standards for the undisputed Brooklyn royalty. We went from the freezing concrete corners to the heavy executive chairs, securing the exclusive patents and navigating the dangerous millionaire stairs. The fake imposters try to steal the blueprint, but they violating the heavy copyright. We pouring the premium dog liquor and shining incredibly bright. We went from the freezing concrete corners to the heavy executive chairs, securing the exclusive patents and navigating the dangerous millionaire stairs. The fake imposters try to steal the blueprint, but they violating the heavy copyright. We pouring the premium dog liquor and shining incredibly bright. I tell my personal driver to slowly pull the 95 luxury vehicle up to the curb, stepping out into the pouring rain with the heavy umbrella and the dark Versace shades. I am walking directly into the underground club, smelling like the expensive imported cologne and the big cigar smoke. The beautiful women wearing the heavy gold hoop earrings are completely mesmerized by the massive diamond rings aggressively shining on my thick fingers. But I am not simply throwing the physical cash into the air for the cheap entertainment. I am demanding the absolute maximum financial compensation for every single breath I take inside this chaos of environment. I am drafting the heavy legal contracts on the yellow paper notepads, legally owning the exclusive rights to the entire neighborhood distribution. They try to find a tiny loophole in my flawless paperwork, sending the undercover federal agents to take the blurry surveillance photographs from the unmarked vans. But my operation is mathematically sealed, a completely untouchable monopoly that successfully transitioned from the dirty pavement to the absolute highest peak of the financial food chain. I am driving these heavy Boed symbols like a certified mafioso scholar, constantly outsmarting the corrupt system and permanently locking the heavy We went from the freezing concrete foreigners to the heavy executive chairs, securing the exclusive patents and navigating the dangerous millionaire stairs. The fake imposters try to steal the blueprint, but they violating the heavy copyright. We pouring the premium dark liquor and shining incredibly bright. The absolute heavyweight champion. Own your man, present, protect your intellectual property. Brooklyn permanently. We stepping back out into the night. We're Brooklyn, and let the heavy bass drop and completely vibrate the cold concrete. It is the undisputed king of the coast, stepping into the room, listen to the absolute magnificent truth. I am waking up wrapped entirely in the expensive silk sheets, feeling the heavy gold chain resting comfortably against my chest. I clearly remember the freezing Brooklyn winters when we had absolutely nothing to eat except the cheap corner store sardines and the stale bread. We were standing on the dangerous intersections, rubbing our freezing hands together, desperately praying for a tiny piece of the massive financial pie. Now I am constantly rocking the colorful imported sweaters and the heavy dark Versace shades just to block out the flashing camera lights. The black pager on my hip is continuously buzzing with the heavy numerical codes from the loyal associates, moving the physical product across the distant state lines. I step directly out of the luxurious penthouse suite and jump completely into the heavy black Lexus. The analog dashboard is glowing and the tape deck is loudly blasting the heavy soulful boom bap. We are mathematically calculating the mass of profit margins, stacking the rectangular paper bills until they physically touch the ceiling of the safe house. The federal agents are sitting patiently in the unmarked vans, taking the blurry surveillance photographs. My legal paperwork is absolutely flawless, and my expensive lawyers are wearing the tailored suits. I transform from a starving corner hustler into a certified heavyweight champion, effortlessly, completely commanding the entire metropolitan borough with a heavy iron fist. We went from the freezing concrete corners to the heavy velvet thrones, building a massive empire and breaking the jealous competitors' bones. Pop the expensive champagne and let the heavy bubbles rise to the top. The Brooklyn hustle is a permanent marathon and it will never completely stop. We went from the freezing concrete corners to the heavy velvet throne, building a massive empire and breaking the jealous competitors' bones. Pop the expensive champagne and let the heavy bubbles rise to the top. The Brooklyn hustle is a permanent marathon and it will never completely stop. I'm sitting comfortably at the heavy mahogany dining table, casually consuming the finest imported steak and the heavily budded lobster tails. The beautiful women, the poorly expensive vintage wine directly into the crystal glasses, completely mesmerized by the heavy dimer, watch aggressively shining on my left wrist. But do not ever let the smooths of feet stay the exterior completely fool your judgment, because I still keep the heavy metal securely tucked underneath the expensive sailor dress cup. The jealous rivals are constantly plotting in the dark and filthy alleys, nervously whispering my name and desperately hoping to catch me slipping on the wet pavement. But my street intuition is incredibly sharp. I can physically smell the bitter betrayal floating in the humid night and on before they even make a single calculated move. While you're navigating this dangerous drag-free jungle with the absolute precision of a decorated military general, turning the microscopic investments into the unimaginable mass and fortunes overnight. For you're drinking the premium dark liquor and dropping the heavy cigar ashes directly onto the expensive imported Persian rugs, loudly laughing at the foolish individuals who originally doubted our magnificent elevation. I am painting a vivid masterpiece with these heavy syllables, describing the beautiful struggle and the undeniable heavy triumph for the authentic streets of Miami.
From the freezing concrete corners to the heavy velvet thrones,
building a massive empire, breaking the jealous competitors' bones. Pop the expensive champagne and let the hairy bubbles rise to the top. The Brooklyn hustle is a permanent marathon and it will never completely stop. It was ran from the freezing concrete corners to the heavy velvet thrones, building the massive empire and breaking the jealous competitors' bones. It was all a massive dream until we made it to permanent heavy reality. Keep stacking the paper and never look backward. Brooklyn permanently. We stepping out into the night. Yeah. Then the lights down low. Yeah. let the heavy turntable needle find the perfect groove. We are taking a smooth trip to the wooden floor tonight. Lace up your classic skates and keep your balance completely centered. This is that uncut Long Beach velvet. Listen to the heavy funk bounce. I am laying all the way back on the velvet couch, watching the ceiling fan spin slowly in the humid evening air. The heavy landline phone rings twice, but I let the analog answering machine catch the message because I'm already completely in my zone. I grab my black pager off the glass coffee table, checking the glowing green numbers and seeing the homies are already gathering down at the classic indoor rotor rink. Out the one, the crisp, oversized jersey and smooth out my braided hair. Taking my absolute time because a true player never rushes his majestic entrance. I step out into the warm California night, unlocking the heavy doors of the long vintage Cadillac sitting beautifully on the concrete driveway. I slide a classic analog cassette tape directly into the stereo deck, twisting the heavy volume dial until the high pitch synthesizer it completely melts into the midnight breeze. I drop the heavy gear into drive, hitting the hydraulic switches to make the front bumper aggressively bounce just one time before I slowly roll out onto the main boulevard. The sweet smell of the heavy chronic smoke is floating right out of the open window, mixing perfectly with the cool ocean air.
We gliding completely smooth across the polished wooden floor,
Keeping the heavy analog flavor alive and leaving them begging for more.
no stress and absolutely no drama inside the classic heavy ride.
Just the pure West Coast rhythm taking us on the massive midnight slide.
We gliding completely smooth across the polished wooden floor,
Keeping the heavy analog flavor alive and leaving them begging for more.
no stress and absolutely no drama inside the classic heavy ride.
Just the pure West Coast rhythm taking us on a massive midnight slide. I finally pulled a heavy Cadillac into the neon parking lot, instantly hearing the heavy analog bass thumping directed through the brick walls of the building. I stepped through the double glass doors and the entire atmosphere is completely electric. The mirror ball is spinning slowly and casting 1,000 tiny lights across the massive wooden arena. The local disc jockey is actively working the dual turntables, scratching the heavy vinyl records and keeping the funky guitar licks perfectly synchronized with the bouncing rhythm. The homies are lacing up the classic
Four-wheel skates,
bowling incredibly smooth and executing the complicated backward moves with absolutely zero effort. I step directly onto the floor, gliding effortlessly to the heavy bass line, observing the beautiful ladies smiling and completely feeling the magnificent West Coast vibration. We do not need any unnecessary physical altercations. A heavy street politics tonight, just a smooth vocabulary and the undeniable heavy jaw that mathematically controls the entire environment. I am passing the heavy paper wrap perfectly tight, sharing the magnificent good vibes and keeping the entire situation completely peaceful. A local police cruisers are slowly rolling past the building outside, but we are keeping the operation perfectly legal, strictly focusing on the positive energy.
we gliding completely smooth across the polished wooden floor,
Keeping the heavy analog flavor alive and leaving them begging for more.
no stress and absolutely no drama inside the classic heavy ride.
Just the pure West Coast rhythm taking us on the massive midnight slide.
Gliding completely smooth,
Kick your balance perfectly second.
never let the paranoia
Interrupt your midnight glide. Whoa, long gets permanently. We rolling out into the cold breeze. Yeah. Yeah. Lean back and let the heavy analog bassline wash completely over you. Yeah. Check it. We slow glide down the sunny Pacific coast on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Keep your fresh white sneakers completely clean and let the rhythm dictate your steps. It is that original, authentic Long Beach flavor. Listen to the incredibly smooth birds. I wake up incredibly late on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. The heavy California sun is shining directly through the wooden window blinds. I stretch my long legs and slowly walk over to the closet, pulling out a crisp white t-shirt and the heavily creased khaki pants. I laced up the classic canvas sneakers, making absolutely sure there are zero scuff marks on the white rubber. The silver pager on the kitchen counter starts vibrating with a numeric code from the homies, letting me know that the heavy neighborhood barbecue is already underway down by the Pacific coastline. I step out onto the warm concrete driveway and grab the heavy green water hose, taking my absolute time to carefully wash the classic 64 convertible until the chrome rims are blindingly reflecting the blue sky. I grab a dusty analog cassette tape from the glove compartment, sliding it smoothly into the vintage stereo deck and turning the heavy volume knob until the high-pitched synthesizer completely fills the humid air. I drop the heavy vehicle into the drive gear, hitting the hydraulic switch to make the front bumper aggressively bounce. Just one time for the local neighborhood kids watching from the sidewalk. I am cruising incredibly slow down the main Palm Tree Boulevard, leaning way back in the driver's seat with my left hand lazily resting on the wooden steering wheel. The sweet smell of the heavy chronic smoke is floating right out of the open window, mixing perfectly with the salty ocean breeze.
We rollin' incredibly smooth, straight down the sunny neighborhood block. The heavy analog bass is ticking exactly like a rhythmic clock, bouncing on the heavy hydraulics and touching the beautiful blue sky, while watching the incredible West Coast scenery slowly passing right by. We rollin' incredibly smooth, straight down the sunny neighborhood block. The heavy analog bass is ticking exactly like a rhythmic clock, bouncing on the heavy hydraulics and touching the beautiful blue sky, watching the incredible West Coast scenery slowly passing right by.
Finally put a classic lowrider into the crowded beach parking lot, immediately smelling the heavy barbecue charcoal burning on the rusty metal grills. The homies are aggressively slapping the heavy dominoes onto the wooden picnic tables, laughing incredibly loud and celebrating the beautiful weekend without a single drop of unnecessary stress. I step out of the heavy vehicle and the massive crowd immediately parts exactly like the Red Sea, paying the absolute maximum respect to the smooth operator. The Luckovich jockey is actively spinning the heavy black vinyl records on the analog turntables, tracking the classic fuck breaks and keeping the inside lock body constantly moving in the perfect synchronized harmony. We are passing the heavy paper wrap perfectly tight, sharing the magnetics and good vibes and leaving only unnecessary street drama completely outside the chain link fence. The local police cruisers are slowly rolling past the park perimeter. They officers are glaring hard through the tinted glass, desperately hoping to find a convenient reason to shut down all magnificent celebration. But we are keeping the entire situation completely peaceful and legally bulletproof, strictly focusing on the positive energy and the undeniable heavy groove.
We rollin' incredibly smooth, straight down the sunny neighborhood block. The heavy analog bass is taking exactly like a rhythmic clock, bouncing on the heavy hydraulics and touching the beautiful blue sky, watching the incredible West Coast scenery slowly passing right by. Smooth, straight down the sunny neighborhood block. The heavy analog bass is ticking exactly like a rhythmic clock, bouncing on the heavy hydraulics and touching the beautiful blue sky, watching the incredible West Coast scenery slowly passing right by. Yeah.
Keep it incredibly smooth and completely laid back. Yeah. Never let anybody interrupt your daily glide. Long Beach permanently. We stepping out into the evening breeze. Turn the heavy bass down just a little bit and let the melody ride. We taking a midnight glide down the dark avenue. Nothing but the yellow street lights and the classic chrome. Listen to the incredibly smooth rhythm. The sun finally dips below the Pacific Ocean, painting the entire California sky in the deep shades of purple and dark blue. While I'm stepping out of the crib, wearing the crisp oversized suit and the fresh braided hair, smelling strictly like the expensive cologne and the sweet Indo smoke. I grab my silver pager off the glass table, checking the glowing green numbers and seeing like the local house party is already completely packed to the ceiling. I walk out to the driveway and unlock the heavy doors of the vintage Cadillac. The velvet interior is looking incredibly soft and luxurious underneath the street lamp. I slide a brand new analog cassette tape directly into the stereo deck, turning the heavy volume dial until the high-pitched synthesizer is completely vibrating the wooden steering wheel. I am dipping incredibly slow down the dark boulevard, riding the heavy hydraulic suspension and floating directly over the cracked pavement exactly like a fan. The warm night breeze is blowing perfectly through the open window, mixing with the heavy analog rhythm and creating the ultimate laid-back atmosphere. I am not rushing to any specific destination, because the actual bars completely dictates the tempo of the entire city just by cruising through the neighborhood. We gliding completely smooth underneath the yellow street lights, keeping the heavy analog flavor alive through the California nights. No stress and absolutely no drama inside the classic heavy ride. Just the pure West Coast rhythm taking us on a massive midnight slide. We gliding completely smooth underneath the yellow street lights, keeping the heavy analog flavor alive through the California nights. No stress and absolutely no drama inside the classic heavy ride. Just the pure West Coast rhythm taking us on the massive midnight slide. I finally brought a heavy Cadillac up to the crowded house party, parking the massive vehicle directly on the front lawn because the street is already completely full. The heavy fog is practically shaking the brick foundation of the building, and the entire neighborhood is out here celebrating the beautiful weekend. I step out of the Dunbar seat and smoothly glide directly through the front door, having my heavy coat to the homies and grabbing the red plastic cup filled to the absolute top with the cold gin and the sweet juice. The beautiful ladies are looking absolutely flawless, moving rhythmically to the heavy bass line, spinning directly from the black vinyl records on the analog turntables. A couple of jealous individuals are standing in the dark corner, nervously watching my every single move, but I am completely ignoring that negative vibration and the heavy insecurity. I am strictly here to enjoy the heavy analog rule, to slowly zoo step on the wooden floor and keep the positive energy constantly circulating through the entire room. We do not need any heavy weapons or unnecessary physical altercations tonight. Just a smooth vocabulary, and the undeniable heavy charm that mathematically controls the entire environment. I am passing the heavy paperwork perfectly tied, sharing the magnificent good vibes and keeping the entire situation completely peaceful. The local police cruisers are slowly rolling past the house, but we are keeping the volume just right and the operation perfectly legal. Gliding completely smooth underneath the yellow street lights, keeping the heavy analog flavor alive through the California night. No stress and absolutely no drama inside the classic heavy ride. Just the pure West Coast rhythm taking out on a massive midnight slide. We gliding completely smooth underneath the yellow street lights, keeping the heavy analog flavor through the California night. No stress and absolutely no drama inside the classic heavy ride. Just the pure West Coast weather on a massive midnight slide. Keep it strictly on the smooth frequency. Never let the paranoia interrupt your midnight glide. We stepping back out into the full breeze. we taking a completely smooth ride right down the sunny Pacific coast. Grab your red plastic cup, you fill it up directly to the brim. Get them that original, authentic Long Beach flavor. Listen to the incredibly smooth bounce. I wake up incredibly late in the afternoon with the heavy California sun shining directly through the window blinds. I stretch my long legs and slowly walk over to the vintage refrigerator, pouring a heavy splash of the gin and mixing it perfectly with the sweet juice. The entire neighborhood is already completely alive. I can hear the heavy and the love phone, yeah, playing loudly from the massive wooden speaker sitting across the street. I grab my black pager off the wooden nightstand, reading the glowing green numbers and realizing the entire crew is already gathering down at the local concrete park. I take my absolute time, throwing on the oversized flannel shirt and lacing up the crisp white canvas sneakers with the flawless precision. I step out onto the warm pavement and unlock the doors with the classic 64 convertible. I slide directly into the premium leather seat, turn the heavy metal ignition key, and immediately hit the hydraulic switches to make the front end aggressively bounce. I slide a dusty cassette tape directly into the dashboard deck, cracking the analog volume dial until the massive subwoofers in the trunk are vinyl shaking the chrome license plate. I am cruising incredibly slow down the main Palm Tree Boulevard, leaning way back in the driver's seat with my left hand lazily resting on the wooden steering wheel. The sweet smell of the heavy chronic smoke is floating right out of the open window, mixing perfectly with the salty ocean breeze.
We rolling incredibly smooth, straight through the neighborhood block.
Yeah, the heavy analog bass is ticking exactly like a rhythmic clock.
Bouncing on the heavy hydraulics and touching the sunny blue sky.
Watching the beautiful West Coast scenery slowly passing right by.
We rolling incredibly smooth, straight through the neighborhood block.
The heavy analog bass is ticking exactly like a rhythmic clock.
Bouncing on the heavy hydraulics and touching the sunny blue sky.
Watching the beautiful West Coast scenery slowly passing right by. I finally pulled the classic lowrider into the crowded park, immediately smelling the heavy barbecue charcoal burning on the rusty metal grills. The homies are aggressively slapping the heavy dominoes onto the wooden picnic tables, laughing incredibly loud and celebrating the beautiful weekend. I step out of the heavy vehicle in the massive crowd, immediately parts exactly like the Red Sea, paying the absolute maximum respect to the smooth operator. The local disc jockey is actively spinning the heavy black vinyl records on the analog turntables, scratching the classic funk breaks and keeping the entire block party constantly moving in the perfect synchronized harmony. Yeah, we are passing the heavy paper wrap perfectly tight, sharing the magnificent good vibes and leaving all the unnecessary street drama completely outside the chain link fence. The local police cruisers are slowly rolling past the park perimeter. Her officers are glaring hard through the tinted glass, desperately hoping to find a convenient reason to shut down our magnificent celebration. But we are keeping the entire situation completely peaceful and legally bulletproof, strictly focusing on my positive energy in the undeniable heavy road.
White gravel French
Plastic cup, taking a slow sip, and I'm serving my beautiful people thriving in the middle of this concrete jungle. There are absolutely no distraction, just the authentic human connection. The heavy analog rhythm and the absolute pure essence of the California lifestyle. Yeah, we are going to keep this heavy phone playing loud until the street lights automatically flicker and the glowing moon takes over the entire sky.
We rolling incredibly smooth, straight through the neighborhood block.
The heavy analog bass is ticking exactly like a rhythmic clock,
Bouncing all that heavy hydraulics and touching the sunny blue sky.
watching the beautiful West Coast scenery slowly passing right by.
We rolling incredibly smooth, straight through the neighborhood block.
The heavy analog bass is ticking exactly like a rhythmic clock,
Bouncing on that heavy hydraulics and touching the sunny blue sky.
smooth and completely laid back. Never let anybody interrupt your daily life. Long Beach permanently. Yeah, we're stepping out into the breeze.
Yeah, no artificial shortcuts, just the raw, unadulterated California funk. Listen to the heavy orchestration of the concrete streets. I strike the heavy vintage piano keys and the entire metropolitan skyline begins to violently shake. I am standing directly in the center of the massive studio, conducting this heavy urban symphony with the sharp razor blade and a spool of 2-inch tape. The amateur musicians are constantly begging for a microscopic moment of my valuable time, but they completely lack the intense military discipline required to survive inside my vocal booth. I will ruthlessly force you to repeat the exact same vocal cadence 75 consecutive times until your lungs are completely exhausted, because a genuine West Coast masterpiece demands the absolute flawless execution. I am digging deeply through the dusty crates of the forgotten vinyl records, meticulously extracting the single heavy drum kicking mathematically, combining it with a thick analog bass line that physically crushes your rib cage. The rival record labels are constantly sending their chorus files into my neighborhood, desperately trying to steal the sacred handwritten blueprints of my acoustic architecture, but they simply cannot artificially replicate the heavy soul that organically drips from these thick copper cables. I am the undisputed godfather of this heavy rhythmic foundation, turning the heavy metal knobs on the console until the voltage completely blows the massive studio monitors. When the heavy analog bass line drops and the entire neighborhood freezes, we are orchestrating the absolute masterpieces spreading the California breeze. The high-pitched synthesizer is cutting directly through the humid evening air. We demand a maximum undeniable respect from every single individual standing there. When the heavy analog bass line drops and the entire neighborhood freezes, we are orchestrating the absolute masterpieces spreading the California breeze. The high-pitched synthesizer is cutting directly through the humid evening air. We demand the maximum undeniable respect from every single individual standing there. I finally step away from the massive mixing console, grabbing the fresh lyric-recorded cassette tape, then walking directly out into the blinding California sunshine. I smoothly drop my heavy frame into the premium leather interior of the classic 64 Impala, gripping the authentic wood grain steering wheel with absolute authority. I forcefully push the hairy tech directly into the V6 dashboard deck. In the exact millisecond, the instrumental begins to play. The massive hydraulic suspension violently bounces the heavy steel chassis off the high pavement. I am cruising slowly down the iconic Clown Creek Boulevard, and you can physically see the thick acoustic waves discarding the atmosphere with pressure around my vehicle. The quarter hustlers and the street veterans immediately pause their daily analog operations, slowly nodding their heads in absolute synchronized harmony with my heavy drum pattern. The local law enforcement cruisers are nervously rolling down their windows, is completely paralyzed by the sheer magnitude of the heavy rhythm echoing off the brick walls. The fake competitors are sitting inside their cheap recording booths, violently pulling their hair out because they realize they are mathematically incapable of reaching that specific altitude of musical royalty. I am not simply creating a temporary street anthem. I am heavily chiseling my permanent facial profile directly into the granite mountainside of this entire global culture. When the heavy analog bass line drops and the entire neighborhood freezes, we are orchestrating the absolute masterpiece and spreading the California breeze. High-pitched synthesizer is cutting directly through the humid evening air. We demand the maximum undeniable respect from every single individual standing there. When the heavy analog bass line drops and the entire neighborhood freezes, we are orchestrating the absolute masterpiece and spreading the California breeze. High-pitched synthesizer
humid evening air.
We demand the maximum undeniable respect from every single individual standing there. Yeah, the true architect of the heavy California sound, strictly analog machinery and unbreakable string principles. Keep the heavy hydraulics bouncing. We are generating a completely different level of analog voltage today. I'm talking about the raw electrical power running directly through the concrete streets. Protect the heavy acoustic patents and lock the studio vault. Listen to the heavy current flow. I walk directly into the recording facility, and it looks exactly like a massive industrial power station. I am physically connecting the thick copper cables to the analog mixing console, engineering a heavy high voltage system that is mathematically designed to completely overload the metropolitan grid. Every single time I push the heavy physical slider on the board, I am carefully regulating the raw electrical currents, ensuring that the heavy kick drum hits with the absolute maximum mechanical force. We do not use any fragile shortcuts. I am physically splicing the heavy magnetic tape with a razor blade, building an impenetrable acoustic architecture from the absolute ground up. The shady record executives in the expensive tailored suits are constantly circling the building like hungry vultures, desperately trying to steal my physical blueprints and claim my complex and analog inventions as their own. They want to quietly take the intellectual property right out of my hands, sliding the thick paper contracts across the wooden table, and hoping I am foolish enough to surrender my master tapes for a quick stack of $100 bills. But my mind operates with the freezing cold precision of a legal scholar. I completely understand the intricate laws of this dangerous jungle, and I am fiercely protecting my heavy acoustic patents. I sign my name with a heavy fountain pen, legally securing the permanent ownership of every single heavy bass line and every single piercing synthesizer that my brain successfully generates. They try to drag me into the dusty and analog courtrooms to drain my energy, but my foundational arguments are completely bulletproof, built on the solid rock of absolute authentic originality. When the heavy electrical current starts flowing and the massive bass drops, we are overloading the city power grid and heavily calling the cops. Defend the original blueprints and fiercely protect the heavy intellectual right. We are mathematically dominating the entire industry throughout the freezing night. When the heavy electrical current starts flowing and the massive bass drops, we are overloading the city power grid and heavily calling the cops. Defend the original blueprints and fiercely protect the heavy intellectual right. We are mathematically dominating the entire industry throughout the freezing night. I disconnect the heavy cables, grab the freshly pressed vinyl record directly from the studio lab, and step out into the blinding California sun. I drop the heavy wax directly into the customized turntable installed inside my classic 64 convertible, hitting the heavy hydraulic switches to make the metal chassis aggressively bounce. As soon as the needle physically touches the groove, the massive subwoofers in the trunk begin to violently push the heavy air, practically causing a minor earthquake on the asphalt. I am cruising slowly down the main boulevard, and you can literally see the street lights violently flickering because my analog frequency is actively interrupting the municipal power systems. The local street soldiers are standing on the corners, completely mesmerized by the sheer mechanical perfection of the heavy rhythm, recognizing that this specific level of quality cannot be artificially manufactured in a cheap corporate laboratory. I am actively laying down the heavy underground wiring for the future generations, establishing the permanent electrical infrastructure that will keep this entire massive culture properly illuminated for the next 50 years. The jealous competitors are constantly blowing their internal fuses. The cheap studio equipment is completely catching on fire because they simply cannot handle the massive voltage of my original undisputed ideas. I am operating as the sole proprietor of this heavy sonic monopoly, sitting comfortably at the top of the concrete pyramid, refusing to ever compromise my strict architectural standards. We are turning the heavy and analog knobs completely to the maximum limit, permanently blowing the massive speakers and demanding the absolute undivided respect from every single individual.
walking on this pavement.
When the heavy electrical current starts flowing and the massive bass drops,
We are overloading the city power grid and heavily calling the cops.
defend the original blueprints and fiercely protect the heavy intellectual right.
We are mathematically dominating the entire industry throughout the freezing night.
When the heavy electrical current starts flowing and the massive bass drops,
We are overloading the city power grid and heavily calling the cops.
defend the original blueprints and fiercely protect the heavy intellectual right. Step directly into the acoustic lavatory and lock the heavy soundproof door behind you. There are absolutely no digital shortcuts inside this specific building. Just the massive analog mixing boards, the heavy magnetic tape, and the pure mathematical science of the heavy rhythm. I am calibrating the actual heartbeat of the entire West Coast. Listen to the heavy mechanical precision. I am standing directly over the massive analog console, studying the glowing meters and adjusting the heavy physical sliders with the absolute precision of a certified brain surgeon. The atmosphere inside this room is incredibly thick, completely filled with the heavy smoke and the undeniable pressure to manufacture a monumental historical classic. We do not possess any cheap digital screens or artificial plugins to magically fix a terrible vocal performance. If the delivery is not completely flawless, you have to step right back into the isolated vocal booth and spit the heavy syllables directly into the vintage microphone all over again. I am physically cutting the 2-inch magnetic tape with a sharp metallic razor blade, splicing the heavy drum breaks manually to construct an absolutely impenetrable sonic foundation. My fingertips are permanently stained from flipping through the endless dusty crates of the vintage vinyl records, aggressively searching for that one specific isolated horn stab or that incredibly rare piano chord that will elevate this entire instrumental into another geographical dimension. I load the heavy vinyl sample directly into the drum machine, physically tapping the rubber pads until my wrists are completely exhausted, forcing the heavy kick drum and the sharp snare to strike your eardrums with the maximum physical impact. I am not simply recording a temporary piece of musical entertainment. I am meticulously engineering a highly dangerous acoustic weapon designed to completely paralyze the entire concrete metropolis. When the analog magnetic tape starts spinning and the heavy bass line drops, we are freezing the entire metropolitan avenue and heavily calling the cops. The high-pitched synthesizing, the sliding completely out of the heavy atmosphere. This is the authentic original frequency that the entire neighborhood wants to hear. When the analog magnetic tape starts spinning and the heavy bass line drops, we are freezing the entire metropolitan avenue and heavily calling the cops. The high-pitched synthesizing is sliding completely out of the heavy atmosphere. This is the authentic original frequency that the entire neighborhood wants to hear. The massive mixing session finally concludes precisely when the early morning sun begins to rise over the tall green palm trees. I eject the heavy cassette tape from the recording deck, carefully place it inside my pocket, and step out onto the sun-drenched pavement to conduct the ultimate neighborhood acoustic evaluation. I smoothly slide into the premium leather seat of my classic 64 convertible, turning the heavy metal ignition key and feeling the massive engine rumble directly underneath my feet. I grab the heavy hydraulic switch box resting on the dashboard, aggressively lifting the front bumper to the sky before dropping it finally back down to the hot asphalt. I push the fresh cassette tape directly into the stereo system, cranking the heavy volume knob completely to the maximum limit. The instantaneous physical reaction is absolutely phenomenal. The massive customized subwoofers in the trunk are vibrating so violently that they are practically shaking the chrome license plate completely off the vehicle. I am cruising slowly down the main boulevard, and this crystal clear analog frequencies is actively bouncing off the brick walls of the apartment buildings, forcing every single pedestrian to immediately stop their daily routine and rhythmically nod their head to the heavy tempo. The local street soldiers standing on the corners are instantly recognizing the flawless acoustic mathematics, throwing up their heavy hand signs and paying the maximum undivided respect to the absolute master of the ceremony.
My heavy pager was constantly vibrating on my hip with the urgent new messages from the record executives. But I am completely ignoring the plastic device, because my current focus is strictly dedicated to the beautiful geometry of the street. When the analog magnetic tape starts spinning and the heavy bass line drops, we are freezing the entire metropolitan avenue and heavily calling the cops. The high-pitched synthesizer is sliding completely out of the heavy atmosphere. This is the authentic original frequency that the entire neighborhood wants to hear. When the analog magnetic tape starts spinning and the heavy bass line drops, we are freezing the entire metropolitan avenue and heavily calling the cops. The high-pitched synthesizer is sliding completely out of the heavy atmosphere.